Record. And we are recording. So, I've sent out a bunch of invitations. I think we're expecting some people to join in, or at least have some attendees. So I'm going to go ahead and do an intro. My name is Charita Cadenhead. I am with Renew, Refresh, Reset Your Life. And today we are interviewing activist T. Marie King. And you're going to understand a little bit later on why I say it like that. But let me just go ahead and do an intro, tell you a little bit about T. Marie for those of you who do not know. T. Marie King is passionate about racial healing, empowerment, the arts, and building a better global community. Currently, King is an activist, organizer, and trainer, traveling, leading seminars on understanding bias, healing, and reconciliation and community engagement. She has spoken or presented seminars to over 100 groups and organizations touching youth, college students, and adults. In her spare time, she produces her own community events that engage people in building bridges across difference, and conversations for change are just a few of the things that she talks about. She's a native of Birmingham, Alabama, holds a BA in Urban and Global Economic Development from Beulah Heights University, and master's degree in Leadership and Divinity from Luther Rice University. In 2007, King emceed the Alabama's Women's March Rally and recently received the 2018 Shining Star Award from the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women. I remember that Women's March because I was in church and picked up the Birmingham Times, and there you were.
I had no clue I was going to be on the cover of it.
I bet she hadn't seen this. Let me send this to her.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, because the media was there, but you probably weren't expecting that, and there you were, front and center. I was like, yeah, there she is doing her thing. So listen. So I'm just gonna get this out the way, okay? So let's talk terminology for a minute. We're not even gonna go to the activist thing because we did that. But I was reading a post today that you wrote about Sheila E. Okay.
Yes.
And something Sheila E. said, and then you said, she said she considered her music a ministry, and they say, well, you said you're not gonna use that term with yourself because you don't really consider that a ministry. What you do, why not?
It was so interesting because for her to say the work, somebody asked a question during the meet and greet, and it was like, what can we do for you, or how can us as, fans and respecter of your music support you? And she was like, I need the prayers. She said, I want the prayers. She said, because what I do, what my band does is ministry. And I was like, wow, because I never would have put that label per se on it, that it was ministry, but it was one of the few concerts I've been to outside of maybe a gospel specific concert that was extremely uplifting, extremely I really felt empowered leaving.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that what she did was really kind of ministry, because I left out feeling like, man, you can go conquer the world after the concert. And I wasn't expecting to get that feeling leaving, a Sheila E. concert.
Sheila E. I don't know why not.
But I was expecting to be excited. But just to be like, man, let me get out here and do some more, work and impactful. So I never really thought about the work that I do as ministry, but I'm like, but to some, it probably actually is.
To some. So there we go again. That's my point, to some.
But, I try to be sensitive because you have people of so many different thoughts and ideas. So I try to stay open.
I understand that. But
terminology, but I always am very open about my personal.
Okay.
I let people know I'm a Christian, so everything that I do is from that bent of being a Christian. But I try not to alienate people who are sensitive when it comes to spiritual or religious talk.
I understand. Well, I will say this based on that post. I personally probably it had entered my mind to view what you do as ministry, but now that you have introduced it, okay, I probably will from now on. But I'm gonna respect that. Unlike me beginning to call you activists and you being accepted that too, I probably won't do that with ministry because I do understand where you come from on that point. You don't want to alienate anybody else. But so listen, let me tell you, I reached out to you about a month ago. I said, and so I tossed out these dates. I said, yeah, she would pick the very last date, right?
I was trying to give me some leeway time.
But I was, and I was not wanting to get lost. The reason I had reached out to you, you had posted something that day, and you probably don't even remember it. But your question was, is Birmingham ready to share me with others? What did you mean by that? What's up? What's up?
I gotta do a better job remembering what I post on Facebook.
Well, let me just say, don't we all, right? let me just ask you this: is moving away on the horizon? Are you being pursued by an organization elsewhere? Do you remember that post? And what could have led to that statement?
I think it was a combination. I think a combination of wanting to impact more. When I look at kind of where we are nationally and globally, it's kind of heartbreaking because it's like, man, we need more of these conversations and talks. Especially, I really want to get more into working with college students because I think they're at such a key age where they can kind of lean one way or the other. And I feel like if you can get to them now about being humble and thinking about their neighbors, I think it's such a great age to catch them. I've had other groups are like, why are you still in Alabama? You should come out here. You can probably get paid so much.
Yeah, we don't have no trouble. We don't need you in Alabama, right?
Yeah, I know, right? And it's
we straight.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's like, no, it's like I always will have a place here. Like I always see myself kind of back and forth. Maybe being housed in Birmingham, but traveling is what I would want to do. But I think when I did that post, I think I was frustrated because of seeing different things happening locally. And sometimes I feel like the people who are the most passionate and the most concerned about the growth and shift and change that needs to happen in our city is not always at the table. And so I think that might have been a part of that frustration and typing that, because I get people that say, you should be here, come to LA, not come to New York, come to Chicago. There's organizations that would love to have you and would, give you the opportunity to really grow as you want to. But, I haven't gotten that release yet, but, God has been opening up doors for me to do more traveling.
Okay. But you do travel. And you travel to some of those places with your message, okay? Yeah. And even if you move to those places, you still continue to travel to places with your message. And I understand people recruit, and I understand where that's coming from. I'm not from Alabama. I've been here long enough to say that that I'm from Alabama, but I don't like it when people dismiss us like that.
And that's sometimes that's when I'm out. That's kind of sometimes my frustration because people have this old school backwoods mentality of Alabama. And so when I meet people and I say I'm from Alabama, they're like, really? And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Like, what did you think?
What you mean by that? Right.
Exactly. And it starts a whole conversation. But I think the mentality that unfortunately some people have and I almost have to say, because I've met a lot of people international, is like, why aren't y'all moving forward? What's going on? And I'm like, we have in a lot of ways. We have progressed, but I do get it that I've been to other cities where I'm like, we could be doing a little more.
Yeah, of course we can, but we need people like you, who have their feet on the ground to do that. And although Birmingham may be lagging in some respects and we have a long way to go still, we got to have people on the ground trying to advance that mission. Okay. And then again, no matter what you do, there are some things that are grounded in people that's just going to remain the same. Some people just don't like change. Some people get a little bit more comfortable, but that doesn't mean that, you can't continue to fight for it. Right. And from your perspective, it's probably really hard if you're fighting for that and it doesn't seem like, you're making any gains.
Exactly. And I always tell people, I'm like, I feel like I'm from one of the best places ever, because the history of freedom fighters, you know, in Alabama is, you know, is second to none. Like you can't beat that lineage of coming from people who were that strong, that resilient,
Right.
to really push and put their bodies on the line for change. And I think people miss that. So I take it as an honor to be like, you know, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm very proud of it.
Right.
When I travel, I usually wear a Birmingham t-shirt or Birmingham something, just to let people know this is where I'm coming from. And I'm proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it.
And to get the conversation started, right?
It does. It does.
Because that'll do it, you know. If people say, I got folks, I'm from Birmingham. Isn't everybody in Detroit? Isn't everybody in Chicago from Birmingham? You know, Tennessee? You know, at least the adults are. But so, you know, with regard to activism, Birmingham has some, it collectively, because I see you talk a lot, and I see you, you have workshops or you seminars or give your own presentations or whatever. But I'm not sure, and I'm sad to say that I haven't come. That's simply because I'm such the introvert, and I got to be really fired up to get me out with people, okay? And then if you see me, know I'm there. But when you turn your head, I'm probably gonna be gone, okay? Forgive me for that. I'm gonna try to do better. But collectively, do you all meet at the table to try to talk about, what needs to happen in Birmingham for some of your causes or some of your missions?
Yeah, I'm connected to quite a few groups where I try to go and definitely be a voice for people who I feel like don't have the strength, don't know that they have a voice or could even be heard. So definitely around a lot of youth issues and just community engagement in the sense of organizations coming in to do change. Mm-hmm. I'm very keen about talking to those organizations about, let's talk about how you're going to the community. How are you approaching them? Because some people think just because they have a good idea, and this community is lacking, then we should go take it over there to them. They need it. And then wonder why they don't get the response that they do. And it's like, it's a way you can go to a community. And so I try to work with organizations around that. And then I feel like just working with people to understand, just because it's a good thing don't necessarily means you feel good receiving it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like somebody saying, oh, here, you can have that. Or I'm giving you this. And so I want people to be conscious about how they're doing charity, give back, whatever they want to call it. And then I also want people to think about who is not at the table. You're doing programs or you're creating initiatives for people who may be disabled. Is somebody disabled at the table? To have that conversation. If you're talking about things for teens, how many teenagers are a part of this conversation? So you actually know what will bring them out and what would engage them. Those, I try to participate in conversations like that. I try to stay within my area. But if I know something is going on, if I can't participate, I let somebody else that I know that I would be supportive and go and be that voice. Or I try to post it online and say, hey, y'all should know this is happening.
Right.
So, you can attend.
So when you do that, when you become aware of something, and you post it, and you invite people to go and maybe represent, or even if you don't invite somebody, do you just reach out that organization and say, I got some information that you might be able to use, I'd like to be a part of this conversation? And do other groups do that where you're concerned?
Yeah, I usually, if it's something I'm really passionate about, I'll try to, if not be in attendance, send a friend or somebody else that I know, hey, can you go to this meeting and kind of report back and let's stay in tune? Or I'll reach out to whoever's leading the meeting and say, I would love to talk to you about this, or, is it a way I can participate? And then sometimes I attended an event recently where it wasn't as diverse as I thought it should have been. Ooh. And I made a comment, and I didn't go into details, but on Facebook, you can check in and say that you're somewhere. So I checked into the event and I said, it's not as diverse as it should be. And so the leaders of that particular place, I think, were a little upset with me. Some of the people it was a church, and some of the people that attend the church that I know, kind of slid in my DMs and let me know they were upset with my comments. And I was like, all I said was it wasn't diverse.
But that's not offensive.
Right, but they took that.
That's not offensive. If you're going to represent people,
Right.
okay, and the people that you're supposed to be representing, just like you say, are not at the table, then you're simply just representing yourself, okay?
You know.
Look, I'm gonna post this online, okay? If it ends up, and you should share it. But I'm not meaning to be offensive. But how can you represent somebody when they're not at the table? So I totally get that. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that because I got something that that I sort of want to get into that's going really leading in that direction. But so people start these organizations, and so you mentioned this earlier. So it's kind of like, well, I'm here, and you're wondering why people are not coming. It's kind of like people used to do with the internet or having a web page. They throw their site up,
right,
okay, and people just supposed to gravitate to it. Well, if you don't feed it, nobody's going to come. So is that what you're talking about? They exist, but then they're not managing to let people know about it.
Yeah, I think some of it is not informing people of what it is they do, what they have to offer. I do think there's this field of dreams mentality of you build it, they will come. And I don't think that's true for everything, because people have different needs. I think sometimes you need to take the time to find out, who am I trying to reach? Mm-hmm. Who are these services for? And then you have to kind of, market that way. But then you have organizations who want to give back and they want to, we want to help this community because these kids lack this, or so-and-so community doesn't have this. We want to bring that to them. And it's like, okay, I appreciate the effort, but did you talk to the people and find out, is this something they really need? Because just because you value it, it may not be a top priority for that community.
That's right.
So I try to keep people engaged, and let's always think about community. That's like if I grew up one way and I value sit down dinners with my family, and we sit down every night and we have dinner. But you may talk to somebody else who didn't have that experience growing up. So you thinking them not wanting to come to the dinner table and eat with you is being totally disrespectful. Well, in actuality, that's just not how they were raised or experienced life. So it doesn't mean what they do is wrong. They just do it differently. And
they just do it differently.
Respect it. And you might have to meet that person. Well, they watch TV when they eat in the den. And so you know what? You might need to grab your plate and go sit with them in your den and watch TV in order to truly build a relationship.
Right. I get it.
And that's okay.
I get it. My cousin and I, we talk a lot, and of course we talk about our kids a lot, and then so we talk about a lot of things that were what it was like when we were growing up, as we were transitioning into adults, and we're old school in a lot of ways of our thinking, and then some of our discussion, when it comes to our kids, and we talked about this the other day, that's really not important to them. She was like, this just really bothers me. I said, again, I mean, that's on you. And I get it, but you have to, if you're going to connect with people, you have to connect with people where they have a need, for one thing. But I'm going to roll right into this, one thing that was really touching here recently was the 16-year-old football captain of Woodlawn High School. Okay. Right. So that, there's youth violence all the time. But, when you hear stories like that, apparently a good kid, captain of the football team, well liked by people, and know you lose their life under any circumstances, completely violently. But when you have something like that, is really impactful. So, and one of the things, you posted about it immediately. And I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying, but I'm gonna play devil advocate a little bit, because when things like this happen, one of the things that people first say is, where is this organization, or where was that organization, to get these kids off the street? Nobody's doing anything, we need somebody to help our kids get off the street, when in fact there are organizations. So, and so that conversation sort of gets carried away like that, and then I begin to think, okay, somebody, in that thread needs to start listing these organizations if they don't know that they exist. So
Mhm.
back to the point is everybody's always saying, where is this organization? Where is that organization? Okay, and they exist. So how do we stop that kind of dialogue every time something happens? Okay, I guess we can start posting those organizations that exist. But do people just seem to forget that there are organizations? I mean, off the top of my head, I know there's Joe Lockett Mentoring Camp. Richard Cave has the Man Project. Kim Spites has ETO, and I know she works with youth.
Yeah.
I was talking to a comedian, Donna Brown, the other day, aka Miss Maddie,
Yeah.
and she was telling me that her husband Jimmy
Mhm.
mentors, boys and young men simply on becoming men.
Yeah.
So do people just forget that these organizations exist?
I think a lot of times it's because you're not dealing in a specific area, so it's not on the forefront of your mind. And so I think people, out of sight, out of mind. I don't see it. I don't deal with kids on a daily basis outside of maybe their own children. So they're not thinking about what organizations are they're actually doing the work. And they are, like the groups you mentioned, I can think of 8 others off the top of my head that's doing mentoring. I think
Mm-hmm.
what people forget is that this is like in a community approach. This has to be a community approach to reaching our children. It's not all on the parents. It's not all on the organizations. You know what I'm saying? It's not all on the police. It has to be a holistic thing, because people talk about police, but police are reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
Like them to be proactive, but something happens, police show up in reaction to what happened. I think a lot of times what I've seen in my work, a lot of times is just being consistent with these young people and being a part of their lives and keeping them connected. And seeing you were dealing with a situation where you may have had people in that young man's life, he's the football captain, he's doing good things, but it's the people he's having to live in concert with. And may
Mm-hmm.
not have that as well. And unfortunately, he's, targeted, because, somebody is not getting what he was getting.
What he
And
was
I think,
getting.
and I think we have to look at these environments that our kids are living in and what needs to start changing in these environments. It broke my heart. I believe they just had his funeral on yesterday, and it broke my heart to see that this young life, is gone, I'm so glad social media was not around when I was a kid, but it's like, these kids, they take to social media, they're reactionary, and things just completely escalate so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know the answer to solving all this, but I do think we have to start looking in the communities and what in the community environment needs to change.
Yeah. We do need that, and I would think that the foremost is the conversation. Okay, number one in the home, which seems like that had taken place because the mother said, one thing, she gets off at whatever time she gets off. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, but her kids want to talk to her. At 2 or 3 in the morning. I remember I want to talk to my mama.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah.
What? You want to talk? What are you
Right.
talking about? So she evidently had that kind of relationship with her children. And so there's always going to be some distracted element where kids are concerned. There's always going to be that peer pressure.
Yeah.
So, outside of the discussion in the home, outside of trying to get them connected with organizations, and football is an organization because there's camaraderie, there's
Exactly.
teamwork,
Yeah.
there's learning how to, be a supporter, have the back of your teammates and stuff like that. So, and I don't know who has the answers, but what beyond that? What beyond that? Because I know that there are community events, there are community engagements. So does that just mean, whatever's being done has to keep moving forward, even if it doesn't seem like it's working now?
Yeah. We have to keep plugging away at it, and a lot of times it's these environments. I've sat down with kids. I was doing a program with some of the local police officers, and we went to one of the alternative schools. And we were talking to these kids, 13, 14, 15 years old, telling us they carry a gun and why. And because I don't feel safe walking from school to my place to where I live, from my place to live to the gas station, or I'm being targeted to join a gang. I don't feel safe. So this is why I carry a gun. But you find out mom and dad are good folk, or grandma's good people, go to church, they're involved in different things, but they're dealing with the environment. So, and people say, well, I want to do this for these kids. And I'm like, well, you can't take them. That's kidnapping. You can't take the kids from their parents and move them in with you. A lot of times it is the environment. They're dealing with the elements, the other pressure. Sometimes you have people who feel like, I don't like you succeeding or moving forward. You think you're better than us. So now they're targeting that kid just because that child is doing well in school.
Smart, yeah, right.
It's like, I like to do this. I don't want to do that. Now we're going to pick on you. Now this kid feels like they can't even go outside because they're going to get picked on. And if they choose to, I need to be, strapped, or I need to carry some with me so that I can do that. So I feel like we got to start addressing the environments that you see a lot of this violence in. And it's like, what needs to change in the environment in order to get things back in order, so another child and another family doesn't have to experience what this family has experienced.
Right. And speaking of that child that may be excelling in school, I remember a time, there, even when I was growing up, where there was, even conversations long afterwards, where you had these smart kids in schools, the AB students, honor roll students, that it almost became a sort of a shaming, to a point where they would try to dummy down a little bit, just to fit in.
Yeah. I remember, oh my gosh, I remember being in high school, and I went to a school that a lot of my friends didn't attend. And so I remember, and it was something so simple. We were over at a friend's house watching television, and I didn't even realize I was doing this, but I was a decent student, and an ice cream commercial came on television. And so two of my friends got to arguing over the pronunciation of the ice cream. And they was like, is it Napoleon or is it Napoleon? And they were going back and forth over what was the pronunciation. And so I'm just sitting back watching TV, and one of my friends was like, how do you pronounce it? And I said, what makes you think I know how to pronounce it? And my friend said, good, everybody know you smart, stop playing. But just that idea as a teenager of, I don't want to seem like I'm different.
Right.
From my friends, so I, dial it back, so I feel like I fit in, and that accepting of me. And because I went to a school that at the time it was a predominantly white high school, but I was living in Inslee, so it's you're dealing with those pressures, and what you deal with teenagers is you're dealing with people who are emotionally unstable,
right?
Who are still forming. Your brain is still formulating. And it's
mentally and physically,
and you're being introduced to so many different things, and you're in that space between where you still need your parents' guidance, but you don't necessarily want it, and you want to figure it out yourself. So when you got all these things going on, that's you got a perfect storm in the right or wrong situation where things can go off. And I just think a lot of times teens and young kids are trying to figure out how to make it work or how to solve the issue without bringing their parents into it. And sometimes I think that's a bad idea. And the kids I work with, I try to inform them, hey, if you can't talk to your mom, please come and talk to us. Let us point you in the right direction, and we can help you have that conversation with your parents.
Right. Somebody's asking a question I'm going to get to in just a second, because I don't want to lose this thought about talking with your parents. I was reading something, a few weeks ago about a kid's cell phone and mobile phone use, and how much time that they were spending with it. And this particular study was saying that kids, number one, they're really tiring of texting and being on the phone. They're really tired, but it's a vicious cycle they can't stop.
Right.
And so this research was saying they really do want to have more conversations with their parents.
Yeah.
Do you find that surprising?
I actually don't, because they're dealing with so much. It's so much. They're either dealing with things at school, they're either dealing with things at home or in their community, their social circle. And they don't know. I mean, the kids I interact with, even the ones that's in trouble, in juvenile, they, at the core of them, is a good person. It's very few kids I've interacted with that I'm like, You just bad from jump. I would say 99% of the kids I've worked with, at their core, they want to do the right thing.
They want to do the right thing.
And they're looking for, what does that look like? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? And a lot of them, I want to talk to my mom about whatever issue, or my dad or my grandma. I just don't know how to say it. I don't want them to be disappointed in me. I don't want them to be mad. And it's like, they don't know what to do, so they hold it in. So whether an issue with school, something in the neighborhood, you know, I've even had, you know, girls tell me, no, they're gotten pregnant, and I don't know how to tell my mom that. And I'm like, well, we got to tell her, you know, we got it. So get your feelings together.
Right. Right.
And we can have this conversation together. But a lot of times I think they do want to, they just don't know where to start.
They don't know where to start.
Conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to that, but I want to take this question from Alfred Hunt. It says, T. Marie, are you involved with churches?
Churches are interesting. I am very open to working with any church. I've had some churches reach out to me about working with them, but usually I get more invitations from white churches than I do Black.
Okay.
But I'm open to working with all of them.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I mean, if they're reaching out to you, is there some need that they feel that you know you can fill a void somewhere? You know, because there's troubled teens everywhere. There's teens who need help everywhere. There's teens that need to hear something from someone other than their parents. Okay, because you know parents, you know that's like going up against your first grade teacher. She said you blue, and your parents said you green. Okay, something wrong with your parent, right? So sometimes they need to have. Sometimes they need to hear from somebody else. So why not? Why not the white church?
You know, usually with the white churches, it's typically, you know, conversations around race, conversations about engagement. And I just recently worked with a church where I took their youth group, predominantly white church, took their youth group on a tour through the Civil Rights Institute and 16th Street. And we just had a conversation about race, but I did bring up in the conversation about how on Sundays at 11 o'clock it's still seen as the most segregated hour. You know, amongst churches. And I'm having this conversation with kids between the ages of 2nd and I think the oldest may have been like a 5th grader.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does that look like? Why do people do things like that? What can you do to be better and not make those same choices? Great time with these kids. I've had people ask to come, you know, me to just come talk to the kids about some of the issues they may see around their schools. You know, love having those conversations. Always have been great times, either whether we're talking about race or whether we're talking about, you know, just regular teen stuff, you know.
Right.
But very few Black churches, and I know a lot of pastors because I come from a family of ministers. So it's almost ironic, but kind of not. But
that you're not as involved as one would think.
Yeah, because, and I see it as, I think sometimes people see you as that young kid they knew. And, you know, it's almost kind of like how that scripture goes where a prophet is not respected in their own land. You know, so I think sometimes it's that. But the Black churches I have worked with and interacted with, we've had a great time and I've been invited back. Yeah. But I'm open to working with whoever is willing to have whatever conversation, whether we're talking about race, community engagement, or talking about our young people. I'm always open to it. Doesn't matter.
Right. And I get that some people may have known you growing up, but you know what? I say this all the time. Don't discard a good message just because of the messenger.
Right.
Okay? Because you can, you know, little children can teach you some valuable lessons if you just listen to them.
I'm telling you.
They'll shut you down. They'll shut you up. But they will also teach you some things. You know, the homeless person on the park bench, you know, might be full of wisdom and share a word, but don't discount him because of his message. But let me ask Alfred a question here. Is there a church, if he's still here, is there a church that you'd like to invite T. Marie to? Did you have anything in particular in mind? You know, just let us know and we'll pose that question and try to get it answered here. So how about, you know, because a part of your platform is, you know, kind of that racial healing and maybe bridging that racial divide. Yeah. So do you have events where you bring diverse groups together yourself? Because you mentioned you had gone to the table and it wasn't diverse. Do you bring diverse groups together?
I try my best. I try to create it when I create an event personally. I try to create it with the opportunity of within mind bringing people of different backgrounds, different ages to the table to have a conversation. I kind of retired. I did retire my race talks on MLK Day this year because I want to do something different. So I'm working on launching something totally different. But the last one I did, we looked at race through music videos.
Mm-hmm.
So we would play a music video and we would talk about the imagery or what this artist was trying to highlight. And we just had like a 2-hour conversation about race, you know, and it was probably, I would say probably about 70% white that actually showed up. And so I sometimes find myself talking with that group more because I think they need a little bit more attention. They need a little bit more leeway, a little more understanding, and a little more, I think, compassion as they work towards.
A little more or a lot more?
I say, depending. Some a lot more, some a little, because I think sometimes you may get people in the space, especially when it's real diverse, where you have some Black people that are a little bit more stronger in their feelings and really want to get it out. And I get that, and I feel like everybody should have a voice, but I don't like people being attacked. You know, so just because this person may seem clueless to you, and because of the things you're experiencing or you see that our people experience, you can't beat up on them because they've been in a bubble. You know, particular at things that I do is we will be respectful of everybody. And I want people to have because I don't want somebody to come open and ready to grow and somebody beats them down and now they completely shut off. It's like, no, I want to try to protect the people who come to my events, and it may take them a little longer, but we don't know what they're coming from. And try to give people that space to grow. So I try to create events where I want them extremely diverse if possible. But some things I have to craft a little differently. I did a thing called Pie Talk recently with a friend who wanted to have more conversations. And she was like, what better way to talk and learn about others than with food? And I said, well, great. And she was like, but I don't know any Black people to invite. I said, well, I'll take care of that. I said, you invite a few of your white friends. I invite some of my Black friends, and let's get together and have a conversation. And her husband baked a bunch of pies. I invited my friends. She invited her. We met up. And we ate pie. We literally did. and my friends were like, what you got me going to? Like, what are we finna do? But I was like, just trust me, because I think conversations, you know, I heard one lady say the shortest distance between two people is a story. You know, so I started the conversation with what inspires you. And we just went around the room and everybody told what inspired them. And then it was like, okay, if you could use a TV show to describe your life, what would that TV show be? And then we went around again. And then I asked the third question. And then you start seeing people that was like, okay, I have that in common with so-and-so. Or I like that. So they were, by the time we got to the eating of pie, everybody had pretty much found somebody in the room who they did not know before that they were talking to. And now people are exchanging phone numbers and emails who an hour previously had no clue they existed. All we did was sit down. We weren't talking about race. We weren't talking about what divided us. We weren't talking about the history of Alabama, the nation, where we are on the political landscape. It was like, what inspires you? You know, what do you like? And people started building camaraderie around that. And I don't think we create enough space for that to happen, you know? And so I try to create that sometimes.
Do they come in with this wall? Like, I ain't shared.
And I
I'm not shared, okay? I'm just going to listen.
I had one friend that came that told me, he said, now I'm going to just sit to the side and I don't say nothing. And I was like, well, I'm glad you actually just came. I said, so that's cool. Before I knew it, he was sitting over there eating pie, having conversations. And I thought you wouldn't go talk to nobody. And he couldn't do anything but laugh. But it's like, you know, a lot of times we're just not placed in those situations. You know, and I get it. You know, I can easily go through the day and interact with just Black people, you know, if I'm strategic about it. And I know there's some people that go through and they only interact with people that look like them. And a lot of us only interact with people who think like us. but it's you being intentional and saying, I'm going to connect with somebody that's just a little different from me. And let's have a conversation. Not the big stuff. Let's not talk about the big stuff. Let's start with the heart issues. What inspires you? You know, people can always laugh and talk about their kids. You know, you can laugh and talk about your childhood.
All day.
You know, I like this, or I just saw this movie, or this is what I'm listening to. This is what I'm reading. And find out, wow, we have that in common. And now you've sparked something with somebody that you probably never would have, you know, done that with before.
Right.
Towards, let's just be intentional. You know, I always tell people, I was at a panel about a year and a half ago, and it was a guy that was Jewish that was on the panel. And great panel. After the panel, I went up to him and I was like, you know what? I don't have any Jewish friends. And he was like, really? I was like, no. And I need a Jewish friend. Can we go to lunch?
Right.
And he was like, okay. We went to
lunch.
Yeah, right. We had a 2-hour conversation about presidents of all topics. And his favorite president was Abraham Lincoln. My favorite president was Lyndon B. Johnson. And just us talking about presidents, you know, sparked our friendship. You know, and we check in. We don't see each other every day. We're not hanging out all the time, but we check in with each other. You know, hey, you good? And this is a relationship that I got now that if I wasn't intentional about reaching out to him,
that you wouldn't have. But I think that people, you know, kind of stunt their own growth by just really, look, me talk, I'll do them. Look like but you know, I explore stuff. You know, I gotta be in that kind of mood. But I think people, you know, kind of stunt their growth when they don't explore and only associate with people who have their same ideology. Okay, I think it sort of stunts your growth. I mean, you know, I think it's very nice. People need to be around people who are like them. Okay, who are like-minded, okay, in a lot of ways. But you also, I think it also stunts your growth. It's like I say about school, okay? So, like, let's say math, okay? Well, you know, I might not need algebra, you know, or calculus in my everyday working life, but it's not really even about the math or the algebra, you know, or the calculus or anything like that. It's about figuring things out, okay? It's about thinking deeply, strategically, until you can, and problem solving.
Right, exactly.
Okay? So that, I think, is what you get when you have these conversations outside of your immediate circle. You know, and then on that note, because this is a really big pet peeve of mine, like, you know, if you hear me use the word most, okay, it's a slip of the lip. Okay, because most people does not constitute your two friends. Okay,
right, exactly.
Yeah, so you know, most people, you know, results from some kind of you know, survey that's well thought out. You know, so if all you ever hang around is the same 10, 15, or 20 people, and most of the people that you hang around think that way, that doesn't represent a random sample of the country or the world. You know what I'm saying? That's just your 20 friends.
Exactly. I always tell teenagers 2 things when I talk to kids. I say, if you hang around 9 broke people, you eventually gonna be number 10. And I said, if you want to know what type of person you are, look at the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. And they always like, wait a minute, you know, because they start thinking about, well, so-and-so act like this, and so-and-so does this. Okay, is it possible that people are looking at you and comparing the two because that's who you spend so much time with? Well, so-and-so steals, so I'm sure you steal also. Right. And that could be the furthest from the truth.
But that's how people look at you.
That's how people look at it. They say birds of a feather, you know, flock together. So I always, so if you are thinking a certain way and everybody around you think that way, if you introduce somebody new that says, well, I see it differently. I see it like this because I've experienced it. And it's like, oh no, you're wrong. And it's like, are they? Or are they just coming from a different perspective?
Yeah, you know, let's talk about it. Exactly. Let's talk about it.
I talked to an older gentleman one time and he was so anti Medicaid expansion. And I said, your parents must not be sick. And he looked at me, he said, why would you say that? I said, because for them to be healthy means they're not dependent on social service needs. which means you're not in a position of where you're having to be concerned about their care. I said, I bet if you were having to be concerned or responsible for your parents' care, you would look at Medicaid expansion totally different. And
what was the response to that?
And he sat back and he looked at me. He said, "You're probably right." And I said, "Just a thought." I said, "I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent, but don't look at people who are dependent on that service and say they're lazy, they don't want to work, or whatever. They actually might need it."
Yeah.
He was like, he said, "I take that." He said, "I take that." And I think when we limit ourselves and when everybody around me think like me, then it's like, they just supporting what you already think. But to have somebody in the mix that say, "Well, I see it like this because of XYZ." Now you got to go back and review, okay, why do I think that way? And I don't think anything is wrong with a little healthy conflict, to challenge you and push you, to grow as an individual, because that's what books do. You read books and it challenges you like, man, why aren't I doing more for myself? Or, I should be doing this or investing this way. You didn't think that way until you read it. And now it's challenged you, but we don't think in that instance with people.
Yeah, I think now I'm sitting here, I'm wondering, about people who hold such strong opinions, and they can come from a multitude of places.
Yeah.
They can come from a home environment, they can come from their political environments, they can come from their work environments, of course, their large or small circle of friends. But and I was talking about, going to school and math and education and all that. I love school, okay? And sometimes when I get caught up in my own mind and I realize that, I'm so set in my ways, and there's no reason why I shouldn't go to school. I work at UAB. But a lot of times I think I want to go back to school because I want to, start thinking beyond what's in my, my own head, and beyond what me and one or two people talk about. I want to hear some more stuff. I want to learn how to explore more. I want to write that paper. I want to do that research. Okay, because I feel very strongly about that. But people feel strongly about a lot of things, so much so these days till they are just combative on every front.
Yeah.
And so you're either gonna argue, fuss, and fight with them, which I particularly don't like to do, because it's particularly you got social media, which is everybody uses it differently, and I might put some conversations, some controversial things out there on my blog posts. Okay, I'll delete you in a heartbeat. You start cussing, dropping F-bombs and all that, calling people stupid, and I'm just gonna and I'm also gonna tell you, you feel free to carry on this conversation, but you can carry it on without me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because number one, I'm not going there with you. Okay, I'm not going to show my behind like that. Okay, on a platform like that, and you don't even know me. Okay, I'm just expressing an opinion of what's in my mind, and you don't have to hate me or want to fight me simply because I think differently than you. My position is a little bit different than yours. So, in what you do, has that been a really obvious shift till it almost seems like it's becoming the norm and you're having to scale it back, or the groups that you bring together,
I think I'll say definitely locally. I've done enough stuff locally that people know I'm not going to put up with the crazy. I will stop a conversation. Like we will sit here and everybody knows you in the audience is the cause of this and we are not going to move forward.
Right.
You need to chill out or, either chill or leave, but I always tell people, to me, arguing with people is like taking a cat for a walk. You don't see people walking cats. Why? Because the cat don't want to be walked. So I'm not finna argue with you because you don't want to have a conversation. You don't want to have a dialogue. You want to argue. So I'm going to prevent that from happening by not responding. So I'll just
exactly.
But I've gone places where people want to attack or say certain things, and I'll just say I'm not responding to that, and I'll sit there. And then normally the moderator, it hasn't happened a lot, but the moderator will be like, okay, next question. And they'll move on.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
Even on social media. Yeah, even on social media, I've had people jump on you follow me. And I've had people say stuff or respond to me, and I know they're trying to antagonize me into something, and I won't say anything. And I'll just leave it there, and somebody else may say something that's sensible, and I'll be like, yeah, I agree, because blah, 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 blah. Or, you know, I didn't think of it that way. I see it this way. And I'll leave that comment just there. You know,
and then they'll come back and say, but I thought you said.
Yeah. You know, and I'll leave it. I'm not going to even entertain it. It's like, if you want to argue, go argue on your page. And I on purpose, and this is just me, I just on purpose won't delete them. I want everybody to know this is so-and-so, you know, go back and look at it. But then I think people have kind of understood my message and where I'm coming from. But I've watched other people jump in and actually respond.
Yeah.
That says something out of the way. So, you know, it kind of takes my hands off of it. I didn't respond, but, you know, but I don't like people sliding in my DMs. If you really got an issue with me, just come on out and say it. Don't try to have this little private thing. No, you mad at me? That's cool. You know, I own it. I could have been wrong.
Right.
And I don't have a problem saying, you know what? I missed that. My bad. My apologies. But, you know, don't try to check me on the side and then be friends with me, you know, in the front.
It's not going like that. Yeah. Yeah. I agree, because I'll leave them hanging too. You know, I'll let them go ahead and make a spectacle of themselves. And, you know, a lot of times I don't have to say anything. There's, you know, where I work at, there's one particular student, if he gets a whiff of that conversation, he will light in on it. But when he gets tired, he'll say, I don't have the time or the crayons to carry on this conversation with you.
Right.
Okay. And then he'll just make his exit, but he makes a strong point, you know. It's like, you know, don't mess with me. But so tell me, so where are you now? What's on the horizon for you?
Man, so the next thing I'm really working on is getting this book. So I just finished, I did a book on forgiveness, 6 simple keys to forgiveness, what I use to kind of deal with forgiveness. A lot of it comes from my mom, you know, teaching and walking me and my sister through forgiveness. And some of it is, you know, what I had to learn on my own. You know, our parents do a great job in trying to set us up and give us the information. And then, you know, we have to experience adulthood and figure out what works best for us.
So you take that advice, throw it out the window. The next thing you know, you're trying to jump out the window to get it.
You're trying to grab it, bring it back. It's like, okay, wait a minute. And it may not be necessarily bad advice. You just may need to tweak it a little bit to work for you. And so one thing I noticed in this work is a lot of hurt people. You know, it's a lot of hurt people, and they're lashing out on, you know, topics and issues. And it's like, but what are you really mad about? You know, and so a lot of times I ask people, you know, what is really bothering you? Because you really can't be that upset at this particular thing. Like, there's no way, because it's not near you, you know, there's no way it's touching you, but you're that passionate and that angry. Something else is fueling that anger. And so I figured, I was like, maybe I need to tell people the steps I went through and what I still use to, you know, walk through forgiveness. And so I put it together. I did a couple of, I guess you could say, test workshops around the principles last year, and got the feedback, and people was like, this is the most simplistic thing I have ever heard. And it has helped me so much. And I knew it was good when I had men telling me that, that it was good. And it was
the M word.
When the man was like, no, this is great, this has helped me, I was like, I'm on to something. And so, yeah, so I finished the book. It's small. It's a real small book. It's not thick at all. I wanted something that people could stick in their back pocket, that they can say, hey, let me get this to so-and-so. I know you need this. It's a few stories from my life of what I had to deal with. And just saying, hey, you know, we all go through this. We all experience hurts on different levels. Some hurts are a little bit more than others, but hurt is hurt. And whoever you are, that hurt is just as real and as deep as somebody else's. So let me show you how to work through that. But then at the end of the book, I also have a section on when you're the person that needs to be forgiven. And how this might be answering the question I'm going to ask you. So it's a book about forgiveness, us forgiving others. Yes.
In the end, it talks about others forgiving us.
Well, no, it's us walking through how to forgive others that have wronged us.
Okay. How about forgiving ourselves for something?
Yeah, that's in there too. That's in there too. But I think a lot of times people don't know how to handle when they're the one that needs to be forgiven. And a lot of times you try to put constraints over and apologize. Why can't we be cool again?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you may not be cool again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that person may have been hurt in a way that they're not ready to come back to you for that. You know, and you have to be willing to say, you know what? I hurt you. That was not my intent. I didn't want to see you hurt, but I do understand if you don't want to repair the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to get people to understand forgiveness frees you. You know,
Right.
A lot of times we're the ones that need to let go, but we're holding the key.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's using the key to get out of that prison of unforgiveness. So I'm just trying to show people this is how you walk through the things of your past. This is how you forgive yourself for not making a different decision, for not dating that person, for going to that party you shouldn't have went to, you know, because we do things and we think because something bad happens, I contributed to me being hurt. Mm-hmm. And people have to learn, you have to forgive yourself mm-hmm. for making a choice that may not have been the best choice. But mm-hmm. also knowing we do things that hurt others. And sometimes we can say, I'm sorry and ask for the forgiveness. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. And either time is okay. You just have to know I did what I was supposed to do.
I did what I was supposed to do. Right.
Right. Move forward. And so that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. And I think that's kind of a way I see some of my work moving. And that could be some of that ministry part, you know, waving its banner is that, you know, let's talk about.
The flag has been raised.
Exactly. You know, let's talk about
these. It's in the psyche.
Exactly. You know, let's do that. So that's the next big thing. My plan is to get it out. I'm working with a publisher now. I'm technically self-publishing, but working on the printing.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
So trying to get that out in November. And then and people have been talking to me about kind
just in time for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. And Christmas. You know, so you know, the great stocking stuffers. They're gonna be so easy. And then I'm working on, people have been talking to me about doing a podcast. I really didn't want to do a podcast. So I got a friend, me and him are going to test the idea of doing something similar to a podcast, but it's going to be live. Okay. So I'm going to test one in October. So I'll make sure I send you the information about it. Maybe you can slip in the back and check it out and then, then roll out.
Why wouldn't you want to do that? What was the reservation about that?
Well, I like the interaction with people. So I love when I would do the race panels and stuff like that and just kind of getting that immediate reaction from an audience. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I can talk about anything from the race and all that, but I also kind of want to delve deeper into some other things. You know, let's talk about, you know, what we deal with as Black women, you know, and in this space of activism or ministry or just regular whatever you do, you know, and being a Black woman in 2018, you know, what does that feel like? You know, let's talk about what's going on in our communities. You know, I wrote something one time where I had posted it, it's been a minute, but I was like, you ain't always got to be the strong woman. You know, it's like, let's have that.
Free me, release me from this bondage.
You know, it's like, you ain't got to be the strong woman. It's okay. You know, and people laugh at me. I went and saw a movie with a friend, and because, you know, around, you know, Oscar season, I'm trying to watch all the movies that's been nominated and everything. And so we went and saw a movie, and it didn't end with a happy ending. And I was like, yes. And she was like, why? I said, some stuff in life be broke. Some stuff in life is broke. I said, and it is okay. Today we ain't gonna fix it. It's all right. Let's go have something to eat. You know, and it's like, I want people to know it's okay to leave that to the side and let's move on. So I just want to have some conversations, you know, with that live audience to kind of see, you know, just to play around with it, and then kind of to put a little bit more of my personality out there so people can kind of get to know me a little bit more. So we're going to test it in October and November.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, I'll be looking forward to that. But you know, I can't let this one go by talking about about strong women because number one, I don't want to be superwoman, you know.
Right.
But even on that note about strong women, people have they hold an idea of a strong woman that I don't hold. You know, some people, I don't know what they think of. I don't know what they think a strong woman is.
Right.
You
Right.
know, but is it is it that one that's always ready for an argument? Is that one who just has to say what she has to say no matter what the timing is? Is it, nobody wants to let anybody dog them out? Is that a strong woman? What is a strong woman? And particularly when it comes to strong black women, the idea is that a strong black woman somehow means that you're combative.
Yeah. And that's what's so sad, or that you got to do it all. You got to carry all the burdens. And I'm like, no, to me, being a strong black woman for me is being able to say, no, and not today, Satan. We're not doing that. I don't feel like it. I'm tired, and it's okay. And we're going to pick up all the issues of the world tomorrow because they're not going anywhere, and we'll do it. But I think sometimes black women feel like, I got to get my point across. I need them to understand I'm serious, or I'm not going to let you do me like this. You're not going to treat me or talk to me this kind of way. Or I got to do everything. I got to plan the birthday party. I got to cook dinner. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's like, you don't have to do all that. Certain things we have to do in life. But it's okay to step back and take care of yourself. And that's what I'm trying to communicate. And then a lot of times, a lot of that comes from hurt, unresolved hurt that you haven't dealt with. You got to get the last word. Why? Who used to out-talk you?
Mm-hmm.
Or you got to prove this point to this one. Who made you feel like you weren't worthy?
Right.
We need to address
and who is this person? Who is this person that you're even trying to prove something to?
Exactly.
Why do they matter?
Exactly.
Do they matter? You know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
A lot of times we give leeway to people who are not really directly involved in our lives.
Not leeway, we give them power.
A whole lot of power.
Power over us, and they know it.
And what's so sad is some people got power over people's lives that don't even live in this world no more. How about that? And
power from the grave. Power from the grave.
Still pulling strings. When I had a relative, I won't say who it is, I don't want to offend nobody, but I had a relative that,
if they listen, they gonna know anyway.
They probably would figure it out. I'm trying to be respectful. But I had a relative that was getting ready to pass. And this relative was not very nice to me and some of my fellow, relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the call that, hey, they're going to go soon, would you come see them? And at first I was like, this person used to do me real dirty. Like, I'm not really checking for this. But the Lord really dealt with my heart. No, you deal with that so you ain't got to deal with it later. Cool. So I called these other relatives that were a part of this, and I said, y'all need to go see so-and-so. And everybody I talked to individually was like, why? They did this to us. They treated us like this. I said, they finna be dead soon. I said, why give that person the power over you in death? Go deal with it, get it done. And everybody, myself included, went, saw this person, made our peace. And even when we went to the funeral, I remember we were in the car right into the funeral, and we were just talking about different things. We were just laughing and cracking jokes. And the guy that was driving our limo, he said, y'all real happy to be going to a funeral. And we were like, no, we just hadn't really spent a lot of time together. And we were just catching up and laughing. But if we hadn't dealt with that thorn of how we were treated by that person, we would have rode totally different to that funeral.
Yeah.
It would have been frustration, would have been malice. I don't even know why I'm here.
Right.
They didn't like me anyway and all this stuff. But we all ironically had a jovial time.
That's right. Because of that person.
But we had dealt with it, and we were probably the most upbeat people there. And it was like, hey, what's done is done. We have let that go. Now we can live our lives, without being in bondage to what this person did to us. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are carrying hurts around them and have just not let them go, and you can't climb a mountain with baggage.
You can't.
But not go get far. You know, and I think I want to help people understand, leave that stuff down, because where God has for you to go is so much higher and so much better. And the air is better up there too.
The air is better.
But if you got all that baggage on you, you're not going to get very far.
That's exactly right. Well, I think that the root probably of everything that we've discussed today is being able to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
That's probably the start of every outlet. So I can say I'm going to be looking forward to the book.
Yes.
Going to be looking forward to the podcast. I'm going to be looking forward to you coming back and talking about the book, because with this Renew Refresh Reset, I do a segment called About the Book.
Yes.
Okay, we talk about the book, and that strays off into more detail about the book and the impact that it has on people's lives. So I enjoy doing that. So we got an authors list listing here. If you have a book, and you'd like to talk about it on Renew, Refresh, Reset Your Life, about the book, reach out to me. Also, like I'm talking to T. Marie here, people who are doing something new, doing something different, doing something impactful that's going to impact the people, the community around them. If you're set upon a new business, a new venture where people are going to benefit from it, I want to talk to you as well. Also, we're going to do, T. Marie can be found on Facebook under T. Marie King. We want to start petitioning her to stay in Birmingham.
I give you an A for effort, man. You
Just right. Just go on her page and say, no T, don't go. No T, don't go. Okay. And see what we can say. No, we don't have earthquakes here. So stay. So, this interview will be posted on Facebook sometime between the day and the next couple of days. So those who didn't catch it will catch it. Any final words you want to leave with those people who are watching, or people who will watch it later on? How can we help you? What have you got coming up that we can be a part of? Okay. Tag me, okay, and then if I don't show up, because you're going to be nearby, okay, so swing on the way, pick me up, okay, I'm going to do better, I'm really going to do better about that, but what do you want people to know, and how can we help you do?
Man, just, you can definitely follow me on social media, T. Marie King on Facebook, TM King 1 on Twitter, I think it's TM King 79 on Instagram. So definitely follow me. I would love to see you out at an event that I post, but I would just encourage you to start expanding your circle, expand your circle, meet somebody new, that person you keep seeing at the coffee shop every day, stop and say hey to them this week, or buy them a cup of coffee, and start a conversation. You might meet, your new best friend. So I would ask people to do that. And if you got any unresolved hurts, deal with them. There's so much more out there for you to do. And holding on to hurts is not worth it.
It's not worth it. And there's a whole new world beyond the hurt, isn't it?
Exactly.
All right. Very good. All right, T. Marie, thank you so much for joining me. Those of you who've been watching, I appreciate your attending. We're going to wrap it up, and I hope all of you have a wonderful Sunday. And you can look for this recording on Renew, Refresh, Reset on Facebook within the next couple of days. And until then, you can also reach out to me on Renew, Refresh, Reset if you want to be interviewed, or let me know if you got a topic that you want to discuss. You can hit me up on my Facebook page, which is Charita Hughley Cadenhead. In the meantime, have a great day and hopefully a great life. All right, T.
Bye.
We'll holler at you.
See you later.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.